Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Counterpoints Podcast. I'm your host, Everett Stevenson.
Hey, everybody. I'm a co-host for the Counterpoints Podcast. My name is Malik Foster.
And today we have a special guest with us. We have Dana, who will be joining us on today's topic.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Dana, thank you for coming. And I am your third co-host, Samantha Adams. And we do have a great topic for you. Today we're going to discuss something that's kind of interesting. It's more so about whether or not, when we talk about independence, right? The independent woman, and whether or not is it that she really wants to truly be independent, or does she just not want to not be dependent? And I think that there is a distinction, although a lot of times, we think of independence being the opposite of dependency. But I do think that there is a slight distinction from being independent and not dependent. And so we're going to break that down today, and we're going to hop into it. So let's just start off with the question: what does independence mean to you guys?
Well, for me, I think independence is just being able to make the choices without it, in regardless of other people or other people's, feelings. Like if you feel like you can make your decisions and not have to, feel tied to the effects of how it may affect others, that's when I think, you're independent in a sense. Is to be able to truly have freedom of control of, the things that you look to do with your life.
I think being independent just simply means kind of whatever it says. You don't need another person to fill you or fill a need in your life. I guess I need to take that back, because I feel like in the society of being, multiple people, we do need other people. But I mean, you can stand on your own, right? To keep it simple. Everything that you need to survive, you can do on your own, to put it simply. But I think being independent just helps us have better relationships, because if you're not full in yourself and who you are, and you're looking for other people to fill you, and then that's where problems occur. Being able to stand on your own, I think, is like the simple answer.
Yes. My thoughts on being independent. What independent means to me is basically that you're able to acquire your needs without the help of any other person, right? So you're independent on your own, which means that whatever you need, you can get it without being dependent upon another person to get you what you need in life, whether it's food, shelter, clothing, all your basic necessities. So that's what it means to me.
So independence means to me the ability to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, things like that. Like you're able to take care of you. Doesn't mean that you can't take care of others, but you are able to take care of you. You're able to sustain yourself and rely on yourself. It doesn't mean that others can't contribute to that, but when you're independent, you are doing something on your own for the most part. I definitely think when you're talking about relationships and things like that, as human beings, naturally we require companionship. That is something that's just required in order for us to survive. It's not necessarily about what can you do for me, but just companionship is a requirement. Children, babies can friggin' die if they don't have love. So, I think that when you're living the human experience and you're talking about things being, and you having companionship, the nature of that companionship is going to vary based on the different types of relationships that you have with people throughout your lifetime. And so, although people can definitely be whole, kind of like how Dana said, I think that we all get to where we're going, based on not just the things that we've been able to do and sustain on our own, but also by contributions of other people. Even when we don't think that others have contributed in significant ways in our life, we definitely have people people all the time contribute to, you know, how far we get in our circumstance, whether it be a teacher, you know what I mean, or a parent or a
It's
friend.
helping us understand independence, though.
I'm sorry?
How's that like helping us understand the independence? Like,
My definition of independence is about being self-reliant. So if you're being self-reliant, it doesn't mean that other people can't contribute to your growth. It just means that you're still self-sufficient, you're still self-reliant. And the reason why I'm making the point about other people contributing is because it doesn't mean other people contributing doesn't mean that you're dependent upon them. It just means that they're contributing. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm talking about for me, what that distinction looks like. And so with that being said, I was going to kind of transition into the next part of that, right? Which is what does it mean to be dependent, you know? And to me, what it means to be dependent is to be completely reliant upon another person in order for your growth and development and everything. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what dependence means to me, which is different, you know, from independence. And so I was going to actually pose that next. Like, what does dependency look like to you guys?
Well, I'll tackle that. Dependence is basically what the opposite of what I said previously, which is you depend on another person for your basic necessities and needs, right? And even wants in this case. So if you're dependent on somebody for your needs and wants, you're a dependent person. So for example, a child, right? So that's a prime example of a dependent individual.
I'd like to touch on that too. So we always, when we define things, it's like one extreme or the other, but I think in between being independent and dependent, right? There's like you standing on your own and then also needing and or wanting to depend on someone else to help you in some way. And if we're talking about relationships, the way I see it is like it's an ebb and flow, right? There's individuals who both are dependent on one another when you're in a partnership. So it's just learning the balance of what that looks like in the relationship for both parties. I don't know if I'm skipping ahead, but yeah, dependence is basically, you know, having someone else like kind of like dance with you in a sense, because there's no one can be dependent unless someone is helping them in some way, right? So we all have to fall into that at some point. When we're children, we're dependent on our parents. When we're in a relationship and we're a woman and we can't open something, we depend on our man to open it, for the simple analogy of it. Or there are some things that a man can't do in a relationship that he depends on his woman to do. So it's just understanding that we play that role in certain parts of our lives. So dependency is that.
for me, I think dependency would be like a description of like not being able to really feel as though like you don't have control over the way in which you can, you know, achieve whatever it is that you're looking to do. If you feel like you have to receive something through another person or another being or through some type of something else, to me, that's when I look at it like it's a dependency. So I think Malik made a good example of like, you know, your basic needs and your necessities. If you feel as though, you know, you maybe aren't able to control the environment in which you live or can control the your living situation, and you maybe need, you know, mate, whether it's to stay with someone or, you know what I'm saying, to stay, the help of staying with others, um, um, that in a sense of be like, you know, well, based on maybe the market, you know, and earning potential, a person may need to, you know, live with someone else. They're kind of dependent upon other individuals paying them and doing those type of things. So situations like that to me is what defines dependency, when you need someone to help kind of provide those basic necessities, you know, on the Maslow's hierarchies, you know, that lower level. So that's what I would define dependency as, and it's like Danya said, most extreme form. But also getting into understanding that there's also, and to speak to Sam's point too, there's an interconnectedness that comes into a person being independent, because again, at some point in time, you had to learn the lessons that you need to learn in order to have the tools to be able to move independently. That's not something that's just innately learned. So I think that, those can be lessons that's learned through that individual just having to go through trial and error, or other times those can be lessons that's learned by other individuals that's in your life who help you understand ways to avoid certain situations. So that's how I want to say how independent individuals can also play into the life of dependent individuals as far as helping them to become more dependent, or excuse me, independent, and from an independent or from a dependent state. Oh, dependent.
Yeah, I wanted to pose a question to you all. Would you rather be independent based off your definition of independence or married? So that's the question I want to pose, and I'll answer my version as well.
So first, before we get into the answer, because my answer is going to be it depends, right? Like, based on so what you're asking is married synonymous with dependent? That's my question in order to answer that question.
So basically, if you're married, you're gonna be, the opposite of independent. Whatever your definition of independence is, it's gonna be the opposite of married, because there's another person involved. So
right. So based on my definition is different, a little different, right? So because I don't think that you can be. So that's the reason why, I posed the whole thing of why I was posed of whether or not a woman wants to be independent or if she just does not want to be dependent. Not wanting to be dependent is not the same thing. And when I look at marriage, I think that you can be dependent in that relationship on your mate, whether it be, they're the breadwinner, you're, a stay-at-home mom or housewife or whatever. I think that that's completely feasible, and you rely completely on your significant other to provide for you, right? Not to say that you're not giving your own provisions to him, right? But I also think that you can completely be independent and dependent at the same time. I don't think that you can only do one or the other. So, to be married, yes, I would rather be married than alone, right? To answer that question, right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I don't want to be sustainable, right?
Wait, how can you be independent at the same time? Please.
Because remember, my definition is to be able to be sustainable. I want to be able to be whole, be able to do things and be self-sufficient on my own, make my own money, be able to take care of myself, because what happens if it hits the fan and my significant other can't make those ends meet, can't provide for me in those ways. If I'm committed in that relationship, I want to be able to stand in the gap until he gets on his feet, rather than being like, well, you can't provide for me anymore, I'm leaving you alone. I would rather be in that type of a space to be able to say, all right, if I'm your helpmate, I want to be able to help you. And I can't help you if I'm not financially providing into our relationship, pouring into our relationship, if all you're doing is providing for me financially. Now, granted, it doesn't mean that there's no other ways in which we provide for each other, because of course we're going to be providing each other emotional support, providing each other, mental and spiritual support and things like that. But if you're talking about from a financial space, I would like to be self-sufficient. I don't want to have to be super needy, where even emotionally or spiritually, where every time something goes wrong, I'm crying and complaining to him, and I don't know how to do anything. I don't want to be that way. I would rather be somebody that's independent and can handle my stuff and take care of my business. But I can go to him and say, hey, I have this problem, or what do you think? Or bounce ideas off of them. And then that way I'm able to be independent, make my own independent decisions, as opposed to being like, hey, I need you to tell me what to do every chance I get. You see what I'm saying? It's one thing when you're talking about a partnership.
So I have
it's
a
more about
question
giving-
for
it's more
her
about
before you go, E. Go
Okay.
ahead.
it's to me, it's about give and take. And so it's not about just me being completely reliant on another person. It's about us providing for one another. And that's in providing a certain level of dependence, but I'm still independent on my own. I'm still my own individual. I'm still able to be self-reliant and self-sufficient. Go ahead with your questions.
Okay, so when you're saying reliance, that kind of leans towards a dependence in a sense. But my question is to you, so if you rather be self-reliant, self-sufficient, are you okay with paying, if the person is able to, are you okay with paying most of the bills and expenses
Yes,
and taking care of most of the burden?
yes, if that's what he and I agree to. You see what I'm saying? So I think that that's another thing. I think that that's something that has to be agreed upon. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm a boss, bitch, I got this. You know, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? It's, do we sit down and agree that this is how we're gonna split these bills? Am I gonna pay most of it? And what if I'm the breadwinner? What if I'm making more money? Are you okay with that? Is that gonna make you feel insecure? If that's gonna make you feel insecure, we gotta figure this out. You see what I'm saying? So I think a lot of that stems from having the proper lines of communication open so that you can continue to move forward and fully operate and function in that space.
Okay, so but you're not okay with paying all of the bills, but
I think it depends on I think it depends on the circumstance, right? It's like if I'm in a relationship,
like if
I'm
he's
gonna finish
healthy,
this.
let's
Hold on,
say y'all both healthy. Y'all both healthy. That's the example. Y'all both
if
healthy.
we're both healthy, right? And I say I'm okay with paying all the bills, then that's what I intend to do. If I say that,
So are you okay with that?
am I? I don't know. It depends on it. We're both okay, but it depends on the nature of the circumstance. You see what I'm saying?
Y'all both healthy.
Chances are, let me finish.
Both healthy people.
Right. We can, but I've been in this situation
both healthy,
before.
able-bodied to
Hold
work.
on.
But I'm trying to figure out
Full
what does it depend
disclosure.
on.
Hold on. I'm about to give you this. In full disclosure, I have been in that situation before. Well, we were both healthy, able-bodied people and working. I just happened to make more money, so I handled the bills. You see what I'm saying?
All
So
the bills,
it
though?
depends. Yes, pretty much. So you know what I mean?
Pretty much.
The question to that is, would you do it again?
I mean, it depends on the situation, and that's the reason why I started off with my answer being it depends. You see what I mean? Because number one, that's going to be different for every woman. Every person is going to be, and it's going to be different for every relationship. Would I do that again in that relationship with that person? Hell no, right? Because there's a difference between you guys having an agreement. It's something else when somebody's taking advantage of you. You see what I'm saying? And so I think that when you understand what that distinction is and you know what you're getting yourself into, it's totally different. Right now, if I'm paying all the bills, what is he paying for? What is he doing? Is he spending? Is he spoiling me with buying me all kinds of gifts, taking me on lavish vacations with his money? All right, cool. You see what I'm saying? I might be okay with that, but I might be. I don't know. I haven't been in that particular situation. You see what I'm saying? But I think that
so it depends on the luxury on the back end. I'm just trying to figure out what it depends on, Sam. Like, what
it depends. It depends on a plethora of things. It depends, number one, on the person that I'm in that circumstance with. Number two, our ability to communicate openly. What our understandings are. What is the meeting of the minds? You know, where does that lie? What have we agreed upon, and are we both fulfilling our end of the bargain? If it's me doing that, paying the bills, and he's not holding up his end of the bargain, I'm not okay with that. You see what I'm saying? If it's a situation, and there also has to be a good reason for it, right? I'm not just going to be doing that all willy-nilly. There has to be a good reason. So, you know what I mean? When I look at that, that's the reason why I say it depends, is because there's not one particular circumstance that could create that type of environment. Would I prefer that he contribute to the bills? Yeah, because he uses the lights and the water too. He eats too. You see what I'm saying? I would absolutely prefer that. But if we find ourselves in a situation where it needs to happen that other way, then I'm okay with that. You see what I'm saying? But there has to be some sort of a discussion.
Well, I just want to jump in here. I'm sorry, Daniel. Y'all all go. Whenever I get in where I feel.
I was just so the way that Malik asked the question, it's a little. I'm curious to see his answer because Malik, you're asking us, okay, do we prefer to be independent or married? And then you said something about like it's completely different. When you're married, you're dependent. So are you saying that if you're in a married marriage, you would want your woman to depend on you fully? Is that what it would look like?
Oh, well, I guess since we're going to me, I
Because we
would,
were talking about, Sam was talking about
yes.
finances.
So if finance is the main point that she was making, right? She also made the point of character, right? If I'm understanding her thoughts correctly. So character and finances are very big. Those were the main points. So if I'm making enough money where she doesn't have to work, I'm still depending on her for household stuff, like taking care of the house. House needs cleaning, it needs taken care of. Maybe you need to schedule somebody to come over and fix something because I'm too busy making enough money where you don't have to work, or because I'm too busy to fix it myself, even if I know how to fix it. So I think it's important that how a partner, a spouse, is able to, pick up the slack. If you're doing everything financially, they have to take care of other stuff that you're too busy to take care of. Maybe I need to run and get groceries. I'm too busy to get groceries. You go do that. You take care of the car maintenance. Maybe you take care of my scheduling, organization, structure, the kids. Like if I'm married to a woman, right? So things like that. So I think that's where I would depend on a woman specifically for me because that's what I'm interested in. That's what I would depend on the women for. Like, hey, I need household taken care of. I need the little errands that I wish I could do, but I'm too busy making enough money to support our lifestyle. And so you don't have to work and go through the same thing I'm going through. So I think that's what I would depend on her for, because if I didn't have that, I would have to hire somebody to do it, right? And also, I would need that emotional needs, right? That somebody I could talk to about my heart, my day, the intimacy, right? The physical intimacy, the emotional intimacy. Just somebody who's going to be there as your partner and pick up the slack, and just in case I fall sick. So she might even know a little bit about my business and what I'm doing, and she's able to hold it down, right? Or she knows who to call or contact and assist. So she knows the contacts, she knows the network that I have. So it's very important to have somebody who's going to be able to support you and where you fall short. So that's my answer, long-winded as it was.
Yeah, that was good. I don't know if E wanted to go first because you've been dying to talk because I can answer it too.
Oh no, I have some questions for people, but if you want to go through, then
no, go ahead. Pose your
questions to everybody, and then I'll give y'all the master answer. You know what I'm saying?
Good God. Okay, come on.
So with that being said, Dana, would you like to go ahead and give our answers real quick, and then I'll say questions to both.
So yeah, I would rather be married, right? So younger me didn't date intentionally, and I've been through that situation Sam said, where I was in a relationship when I was really young, and I made more, and I saw you can do that with certain people and date for potential per se, and I did that before, and I'm not about it anymore because I just remember how that person that I chose to see potential in didn't step up ever and took advantage of the fact that I was making more, right?
Yep.
So now, smarter version, older, more experienced Dana does not date for potential. I see people for who they are and what they're giving me without coercion. Like it doesn't mean that I don't mention things that I like in conversation and hope that he listens. Am I going to say, hey, get me this? Probably not. It's not sexy to me. So I would rather be married and we learn one another. We depend on each other to like bring that value that's kind of unspoken. I think every marriage is different, right? It may be that the woman makes more, but the man's okay with that because he's working on something else in the back end. And that's healthy, right? Because if she sees, okay, he is working on something, she may stay, she's fueling him in that way and he sees that. And when you have
but Dana, isn't that potential?
Cool.
Isn't that potential if he's working on it? If he
because
hasn't built it and it's not finished and it's not working, that's potential. Because if you're building, that's potential because it could fail. What if it fails?
Yeah, everything could fail, right? The relationship could fail.
But if you
my
already
job
built
could be
something,
lost.
he knows how to build something to the point where it can sustain a good life for you and himself, right? So he's already built it, as opposed to somebody who's building. He can
Right.
fail before it's even built.
Right. So what I'm saying is I've done that before and I wouldn't do it again. But I'm saying the woman who's willing to stay for potential has to see that where he is right now, he is working, like truly working. Because we know he knows if we're living together, if we're not living together, we will see the fruits of his labor eventually. And I'd rather, like, if I can tell any woman who's younger listening, just like see things for what they are, because you save yourself so much emotional drainage just trying to picture the story in the future. Yes, we need visionaries in the relationship, right? But that's what marriage is for. Like, you're coming whole together and you both have a vision that you discuss and you're working towards. But I think what I'm referencing beforehand is like people who are in a relationship and aren't married yet, but still want the other person to grow and they want to be a part of each other's lives. Maybe it's discussed, maybe it's not discussed. But me, I'm just going to save myself the headache and
You
see
want
people
somebody
for
who's
what they
already
are.
built something, a provider.
He doesn't have, yeah, I do need a provider. Does he
training.
have to have so much going for him that's like out of my own reach in my current reality? No. But does he have to be able to lead me? Yes. Because to me, I think a lot of women resonate with that. Like, you want to be led, right? You want to trust your man and love your man enough to know that, like, the decisions he makes for the household or this partnership, you can just say, okay, cool. That's what you want to do? Cool. That's how I grew up. I don't remember my mom ever questioning my dad. It was, he was a provider. He said what we were doing. You know, we're planning the trips. Cool. This is where we're going. She planned the trips. You know, it was, he funded the trip. She planned the trip. We're all going.
Yeah.
You know, it was the balance, and that's healthy for me. Because when I tried it the other way around and I made more than this man, and I couldn't feel safe in a relationship, it's a no-go. But I would much rather be married because you have that discussion. You're focused on a vision together or separately, you know, where each path is going to go, but together, you know. So I'd rather be that. But do I think that women have to be independent before marriage? Yes. And I think that's where we have that imbalance. And like a lot of these discussions talking about like, well, why wouldn't you be with a man who makes less than you? But it's like, I'm already working so hard to be independent on my own because it's not sexy to be with a man who makes less than you when you know you've done it yourself as a woman. And it's already harder for women to make X amount of money, you know? So I think that's where it's coming from. I would much rather be married, to simplify this answer. But do we have to be the independent beforehand? Yes.
Okay.
Hold on, but wait, I want to answer. I know, I'm sorry, E. I just want to. My response is real short.
Come on, let E talk.
As I said before the show, I told you I get the least in. Go ahead, though.
So hold on. That's sometimes, but I want to answer Malik's question, and then you got it. And my answer is going to be real short. So whether or not you're dating from potential when somebody's still building, it's one thing if they're actively building on something. It's something else when they're just dreaming about it. You see what I'm saying? If somebody is dreaming about it and you can see it in them and see they have it in them to get there, that's potential. But if you see them, for example, let me give you a different example. If I'm dating somebody in law school, right? They say, I want to be a lawyer. I'm going to law school. It's one thing when they're saying I want to go to law school versus if they're already there. And that right there is what I'm talking about as far as the potential versus just being being somebody who's actually building. So that was all I wanted to say. Go ahead, E.
All right, no, thank you. And I'll start with that topic right there. The building versus, you know what I'm saying, built conversation, which I thought it was brought up over here. And I want to thank you all for all your lovely comments. Gave me a chance to learn to listen, which is something I've always been working on. That's a keynote there for some of y'all out here. But also able to write down some of these notes and go. But starting with building versus built, I think that's a really good thing to start with, because I think if more women would be more prone to looking for those type of keys before they really get themselves involved with guys. A lot of stuff I think could be kind of circumvented in relationships. And so what do I mean by that? Is like we've all said, you know, and I think this is how we can kind of narrow that in a little bit more. Sam touched on it very, very much. I think it's actualized potential and then like that lag potential, right? Like, so if Malik, to Meek's point, and to your point, Dana, where if you're working towards something, your payout might not have came. But the fact that that woman can see every day you get up, you work towards your dream, you're taking steps to get there, you're networking, you're growing your reach, you're finding more information out, you're working every day. It might not have gotten on sales through, you may not have gotten it off the floor. That kind of goes to that one movie that I think Tyler Perry had with the dude who made the thing, Acrimony, I believe it's all. But you're working towards something, you got a crazy vision, they can see behind it, they can see it might not have panned out just yet, but you really committed towards trying to get yourself to there, and you're working to get better and better and taking improvements to step your game up. Then I think that she can probably get behind that a little bit more than if it was just you talking it. You know what I'm saying? You got the biggest, loftiest ideas. It sound good. You telling everybody what you supposed to be doing and how you moving and who you know that's doing whatever. So you know it could work out, but you know, we don't see no commitment to it. You know what I'm saying? We don't see no, you know, desire and discipline to continue on with it. So I think if we could, if my advice to anybody looking at that, who's dating a person and you thinking you seeing potential, but you don't know necessarily how much you should give into that potential, is to look to see, without your help at all, is this person willing to go out and find ways to make what they say is important to them happen? And if you don't see that, then that should be your answer. So that's how I feel about that. I think another thing that was brought up was independent, and a lot of it was like, you know, being independent prior to being into the relationship. And this is one of the things that, ladies, I think that, you know, y'all might not like me for this one. This might be my clip even, but like, honestly, like, I think this is the point when I look at this and I say to myself, like, where things that naturally seems like stuff that men understand is that's just what you're supposed to do. Women see that and be like, oh, I need gold stars, you know, rainbows. It is because I'm being an adult. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm able to take care of myself. I'm able to, you know, do the things that adults do. And like now it's like, oh wow, like, oh, because I'm a woman, like, what do you mean that I'm not an adult? No, I'm saying that what we look at as far as being independent is stuff that we should look at adult people being able to do. And I don't think that we should give anybody too much reverence for just doing that. It's like you ain't gonna get a man just enough reverence. I mean, credit, I know you'll give a man at least a backbone for saying that he take care of his bills and this, that, and the third, but you're not looking at it like, okay, you're doing anything special. But I feel like when it comes to like a female, like sometimes it's like we're supposed to get at like, oh, okay, because she take care of herself and she take care of her bills. Not she just, you know what I'm saying, all world. And it's like, no, you doing what adults do. You know what I'm saying? So we can't get at too much as far as being like, I get that whole independence part. So like when I hear it, it's like, yes, correct. You taking care of your business, you doing what you're supposed to be doing. I give you that. But when we say like being independent, I think the moment we look at it and say to ourselves that, you know, and I think both men and women both are dependent, even in single stages as well as in marital stages. I believe mostly in marital stages, though, you allow yourself to be intertwined a lot more. So you have to go a lot deeper. But I think that everyone's still dependent upon others for one thing or another. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's for a little relief, whether it's for entertainment, regardless of whatever. So even though you are independent, you still, like we all say, you still have to interact with others in this world in order to get things done. And so, you know, you are going to have to deal with certain type of things. But so that's why I look at that and say that whole independence things, we need to like just drop all of those titles, drop everything, and just be like, yo, are we good people? Do we do what we supposed to be doing as adults? Like, you know what I'm saying? As human beings out here that's taking care of their responsibilities. If we do those things, can we now come together and figure out ways that we can get to more dreams accomplished? And that should be the goal, whether you single trying to see something with that person, or you are happen to be married already and y'all trying to go along your way up the road. So that's some of the things that I wanted to kind of talk on with that, you know, and I think that also goes towards the whole dating potential, the whole dating potential and also picking up the slack between each other, because I think also too, you know, generally speaking, as a man, you know, we'll still look to say that we want to take on as much of the burden as we can to try to make sure that our woman does not have to face as much of the stuff that she has to within going into the world and being an adult, as we say. Because again, at the end of the day, we understand going on your job every day, having to maybe deal with the politics of work, having to deal with, you know, actually doing the work, having to try to, you know, maneuver and all of that, that could be a lot. You know what I'm saying? And then also just being competitive, watching the people around you, watching management, all of that, it takes a lot in doing your job, doing a little extra, maybe, whatever the case may be. So I think as a man, naturally, you might not want your woman to be out there having to fight those battles like that, having to feel like she has to go out here and do all of the things that's necessary to become viable in the corporate America and to be sustainable out there in corporate America. So I think like when you look at those things, you know what all those things include as a dude, like you're going to try to shield, you would like to shield her from that. But again, if your woman want to go out there and fight battles and do what she want to do and, you know what I'm saying, hold it down on her own and have that, that's fine. But you also want to be able to have the communication to be able to say, listen, hey, if we came together and this is what the plan was, if something changes, you know what I'm saying, because of maybe our situations change, how do we, you know what I'm saying, can we rely on that? And to Sam's point, if she's already been fighting those battles, she might be a little bit better equipped to come in and help out if that situation arises. You know what I'm saying? Where a man maybe can't take on as much responsibility as he would like to in a relationship. And the woman may need to fill in the gap in some regards. You know, her having a job and her being able to, you know, make income does help in that situation. You know, so I give it that, but I also feel like at the end of the day, we need to look at this as two people doing what they're supposed to be, two people being responsible as opposed to independent. I like that term more. You know what I'm saying? Are you responsible as opposed to just saying like you're independent? Because it's like, can you just do the things that you need to be doing as an adult? You know what I mean? Can you be trusted to handle certain things and obligations and responsibilities that you have? Because if we do that, then I think we take out those labels of, you know, things where it's like, oh, I'm independent, meaning I don't need nobody, or I don't need no help, or whatever, or I'm not even open to having someone versus, you know what I mean? We leave it at that. So that's what I want to say. But to answer the initial question, would I rather be independent or married? I would say, lastly, I would choose to be married, because I ultimately feel like the biggest thing that you could ever do is to allow yourself to have that vulnerability with someone, not knowing what lies on the other side either way, but you know that you were true. And that's the one thing I say too, and I say this and lastly, but as long as you can say to yourself that you gave it your all, win, lose, draw, you're going to take what you need to take from that, and you can hold your head high, higher than whatever, no matter if somebody played with you, no matter if somebody disrespected the time, whatever the case may be, it's their loss, whatever, you going to keep building, you going to keep growing. And I feel like when you can look yourself in the eye like that, you never take a loss. You never feel like, you know what I'm saying, oh, dang, I feel stupid for that situation. No, you did what you were supposed to do, and that person just messed up, okay, whatever. Like, it is what it is. You're going to keep going, and you're going to keep playing the game just the same way, and you keep going just as hard at it, and you keep doing the things that you do, and you're going to keep getting blessed. And that's what I know. So
yeah, I agree with that. I actually agree with that 100%. Like, you know, when you know that you put in your all in a situation, circumstance, relationship, or whatever, you got to stand on that. You know what I mean? Because in my mind, there's no such thing as a loss. There's only lessons. You see what I'm saying? And so if somebody else felt like you took an L, just treat that L like it's a lesson. It doesn't have to be a loss. Because at the end of the day, when you're growing and you're moving forward, just like I experienced, just like Dana experienced, we both were in circumstances where we saw that somebody was taking advantage of us. But guess what? I know from my experience, and I can pretty much guarantee based on what Dana said, that she gave her all in that situation, and so did I. So I don't feel any regret about it. I don't feel like I lost anything. All I felt like is I won something, I learned something, and I gained something. And that's how growth happens. And with that being said, I think that goes to something else that Dana said that I found to be incredibly important, which is talking about being independent on your own before you find yourself in that situation, in a relationship or whatever, right? I personally think you should be independent in a relationship, but you should also be able to be dependent on your mate. And so I think what that goes to is being whole, right? People a lot of times talk about, oh, that's my other half, that's my better half, that's the, but I don't subscribe to that. I believe that two wholes should find each other. People should be, for the most part, healed. They shouldn't be coming to each other all broken. They should be two wholes coming together and making themselves a bigger whole, as opposed to two halves coming to each other and being codependent on one another to a place of where it's unhealthy or toxic. So, I think, relying on somebody, like if I go to my significant other and I'm saying, hey, I had a rough day. This is what I'm going through mentally or emotionally, or, hey, I had this experience at work. This made me feel this particular way. Or if they come to me and say, hey, I got presented with this offer and I don't really know what to do, or I want to know what you think, or whether or not I should take it because it's going to affect you. Those types of open lines of communication, I think, help show that growth and show how you guys are going to continue to grow together, especially if you intend on continuing to move forward in your lifetimes with each other. And so I do think that it's important for people to recognize, like, there's a difference between having two wholes or just being a half a person, because being broken ain't really gonna do it for me. I mean, that might work for some people. Like, some people may feel as though I can help them, I can fix them, I can heal them. I can
broke. You said
being broken, not broke financially,
okay,
being broken.
Just
Whether
that
it's
word triggered niggas.
yeah.
I didn't hear it
What
clearly.
you mean, bro? Good.
I didn't hear the broken part. Sorry, that's why I asked. Go ahead, Tim.
It could be broke financially. It could be broken emotionally. It could be broke, like, in all aspects of a relationship or in a person's life. And so with that being said, when people talk about women being dependent on men, whether it be let's take a stay-at-home mom or a housewife, or a woman that just doesn't work, and she, provides for her husband in other ways, and meets the needs that he has. That's what works in their relationship, in their circumstance. In order for her to do that, though, if you're starting off as being a whole individual, a whole independent person, you have to calculate that risk. That's why when women talk about feeling safe is incredibly important for a woman. And when you say feeling safe, it doesn't necessarily mean like I want to be protected from danger. It's also, I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm relying on somebody financially to take care of me and they are unable to do that, right? And so I wanted to just throw that out there so that you guys can go ahead and chime in on that aspect of it too.
Yeah. I think even women who say they want to be independent eventually want to be in a dependent situation, because eventually that financial providing aspect is going to be important to them, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. So, example, Sam, you had mentioned, you can be independent or be the provider, right? Providing financially provisions. But that man's going to have to do something extra, for example, luxury trips or whatever, right? So if he's healthy and able-bodied, right? Like I posed. And Dana, she also said that she doesn't want a person who is in the process of building, because she learned before in her past that when she was dating that person, they took advantage of it, right? So she wants somebody who's able to provide the lifestyle that she wants and needs, right? So I think most women want to be independent in terms of, I can feed myself, I can take care of myself, but they want to be dependent on a man for their wants and needs in terms of hey, I want you to be able to upgrade my current situation, and I'm depending on you to do that, not myself, as opposed to a man, right? We can just suppose that to a man. He is independent in terms of, hey, I'm not dependent on a woman to upgrade my life, right? And my wants and needs. I have to do that myself because that is my job and my role, right? So men know what they got to do. They got to provide, they got to step up, work more hours, start a business, make connections, do all those things to increase their value, right? So women will be more cooperative for them and be dependent and feel comfortable and more safe, right? There's other factors that involve, but we're just speaking from a financial standpoint right now. So what do y'all think about that real quick?
To add to your point, we both add to each other, right? It's not just for a woman, it may mean, hey, you're adding to my life financially, but providing, right? Providing over the household if we're married, right? But a woman adds something else to a man that may not be monetary, but he does need it. To add to that, like, I think a lot of failed relationships happen because we act one way in the beginning, but we may not be clear on what we really want. Like, she may be independent and then say, like, never say that she wants a man, or she may show she's dependent in the beginning, and then shift. And then when she's with somebody, want to go somewhere else and do something else. But that's like, I don't know, is that like dream selling? Dream selling in a sense where, like, you start off one way and you're promising something, and the other person is painting the picture based on how you're acting, what it's going to be like, right? So in that past failed relationship where I dated for potential, I was sold a dream too. Like,
that's dream
I was sold a dream,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
because I was naive. This was like young Dana, right? Super, super young Dana, very naive, and I didn't have any experience. So I didn't see what was happening in front of me. Did my parents see it? Yeah. Did they warn me? Yeah. Did I not listen? Yeah. So yeah, you get sold a dream because they know better. When we're older, when we're more experienced, we tend to see what the dream selling is. Like, my parents, for example, like, when they were married, it was my dad was a provider and my mom basically led the household too, but she still worked. She just didn't make as much as him. So for her, it was hard, when my dad retired and he was still bringing in the same paycheck, but sitting at home retired, and she had to work. There was resentment there. I've gotten a lot of, I made it a very big point in my life as an adult now to ask both of them their experiences and why that marriage failed, to kind of see where they both were, and then look in the bigger picture to understand what that was. Oh, okay. My dad was so headstrong on never having to work again that it was, oh, but you knew this when we were starting off. And it was, sometimes you get sold a dream where, maybe she was okay with being the housewife and working. And then she realized, like, no, this is a lot of work. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. But both people have to be willing to be flexible and work on that. So if he was like, no, I'm not working again, and she was like, that's what I want, and that's something that contributed to their failed marriage, that's where, like, communication needs to come into play. Like, do we really think that people can be married and be sold a dream, right? And it's fine and great. I don't think it's dream selling if everything's fine and great. So let me not say that. If everything's going great, right, in your marriage, I've never been married before, so I don't know. I'm just asking of my parents, right? If everything's going great in the beginning, but something in your minds has changed on what you want to do as an individual who is dependent on this marriage to work. If we're not talking, I can see why that's failed. Because I asked both of them, like, did you discuss like what this problem that you mentioned that happened? Did you guys talk about it? Yeah, we talked about it, but if you're coming emotionally, you're not willing to really just hear the other person out. Like, you could get sold a dream, and then because you're stubborn, you don't want to change. So I think dream selling could cause failed marriages in a sense where, like, hey, a man may say, I'm going to give you all of this. Like, I want this for you. Or in the beginning, we put our best foot forward when we start dating, don't we? Like, So if a man is putting his best foot forward, you're supposed to keep that up. I'm assuming that's who you are, right? So if it changes, you're selling me a dream and now you're mad because I want to leave. No, don't sell me a dream that this is what it's going to be like. Expect me to leave, right? But that's also the other flip side where it's like, I empathize with like where people are, and I just do not hold any emotion behind it. If a man is not doing what I'm used to doing, I just see it. I'm not mad. I just see it. I'm like, you're not for me, you know?
Yeah, I
We just
think women recognize when a man's not productive.
I'm good.
Well, I mean, I think going into dating, people need to recognize that when you first meet with somebody, you're meeting their representative. Oftentimes, it's very rare that you
right. Hopefully, it's the representative.
Right, and that representative might just be a damn good politician, right? You know, like
I mean,
they out there
look at
shaking
character
hands,
and actions. Like, what is he doing? What is he producing? That's why it's important about the build aspect, right?
But
because
right,
when
and
you're in the process of building, you can fall for that, right? Like, oh well, you know, the representative. But what you build, you can't deny. Okay, I build these businesses. I got this network.
Yeah, but it goes deeper than just that.
You can't
but
fake
it goes deeper than that, right? Because it's like you can.
I know it goes deeper, but I was just saying as an example, you can't fake that. You can't fake being a provider and faking build what you built. You can't.
No, but people fake being a provider all the time, though, Malik, and I think that right there is the catch. Like,
how do you fake how much you make? It's what you make. How do you make that?
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You live in Atlanta. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm saying like how much. I'm just asking the question. How do you fake how much you make?
Boom. I got you. I'm gonna give you an example. Okay. Let's take Pookie. Okay, one of your favorite characters, right? Let's take Pookie. Pookie looks like he's getting money. He's telling ladies, oh yeah, let's say he tells them, I'm in the real estate. I'm getting money doing this. I'm flipping these houses. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Pookie has a really nice car. His house appears to be really nice. You know, he tells her, oh yeah, I got this house, da 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 da. But what he's not telling her is that his mama leased the car for him, and the house is in his sister's name. You see what I'm saying? People sell those kinds of.
You can
but is this still Pookie's? Because Pookie just might have been in some situation.
Yeah, that doesn't sound
right.
Like
Pookie still had his stuff going.
Hold on, no.
Name busted. Pookie name now.
We're finding out.
Pookie,
as time goes on, Pookie done told you his name was Paul in the beginning. Time is going on, and you starting to find out his name really ain't Paul. His name is Pookie. So people be really out here.
They don't take that long to figure out a person who fake built some stuff and somebody who really built some stuff.
Some people.
I've had this situation happen, right? I've had this
sound like Pookie built something. I don't know if he ain't got no business.
Pookie's a hustler. That's what that is.
Wait.
Somebody paying Pookie something.
Go ahead. To answer your question, you can fake your lifestyle, Malik. We all know that.
You can fake your lifestyle, yeah.
You fake your lifestyle, but in dating, you can have a man like take you out on dates and then out of nowhere just be, I'm good. Like I was all like that, and you expect you to stay around. Like I've had that happen before too, and I'm just like.
What happened?
Exactly. Consistency.
We're not doing this.
So understand that is the key word. Hold on.
In the wrong place.
Yeah, if you see
and the thing is, a lot of times what happens is men sell this dream, but hold on, this is a lot of times how women who have had more experiences find out that they are being sold a dream. And it's from the lack of consistency. And so that's why when people say consistency is key, a lot of times one of the biggest complaints you hear from women is lack of consistency. Because what you see is they'll meet the representative, they'll think this is what's happening, this is who this person is. And then at some point,
Because
like
they
Dana
like and
said,
fall in love
they
with them,
stop.
and they overlook the consistency.
That
A lot of
no,
women
that
overlook
that
it.
That's
does
what I
happen.
feel like you need to be worried
No,
about
that
is
does.
how you
That
got so
absolutely-
much time to be so consistent.
I mean,
How you
that
got all of this
look at what his
to be
peers,
so
what
consistent.
does his peers say about him? Like, what is his network? Like, y'all
No,
got.
you might not meet friends off the rip though. You know how it goes sometimes. You
I know it's not off the rip,
when
but
you're
it-
around the
but
friends,
what I'm
bitch,
saying
yeah,
is,
Every
you don't know how I get down. You can
all
remember
he ever
that
do
they
is
these
talk
guys
about
for
you.
years.
you the bro.
You know,
All
saying like,
the
oh,
friends
I
getting
didn't
money.
know. I didn't know.
No,
I'm like, you
Malik,
dated
when
this
you
guy
talk
for
about
years.
his
How do you not know this
his
stuff?
peers are gonna have his back. His peers are gonna be like, yo, all he ever does is talk about you, sis. That's it. Like, come on,
Telling you.
everybody knows this,
That's
okay?
not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
You look at what people are saying about this person. Like,
That's
you know,
what I'm trying to say. That's
mean,
exactly
you're
what I'm
gonna
saying. That
hear
was just
stuff.
an example.
you're gonna
A
hear
lot of
stuff.
times,
Everybody's not
their
gonna say, "Oh,
peers-
this is a great person." Every
Let me
single
tell you,
time.
yes, they do. They sell.
Like nowadays, you got social
all
media.
cashiers at the same
You
store,
can look
and
at a
everybody
person's
is trying to
social
sell the
media
same
page.
dream to help their people out.
You can see all this information. So you're telling me they can fake all this stuff? I mean, come on. Most people aren't faking all this stuff,
Let me explain something.
especially men.
Right? You don't understand.
We
though. I'm
know
gonna have to disagree with
if
you,
you're a
too.
provider and builder, we know.
You're using your information based off of the good people that you know, the people that
Exactly.
There are people with time and time. They got time to make this girl feel so special.
And that's another red
No, they're
flag.
shifting
Time.
priorities.
Time.
They're shifting
They
priorities.
got time to lie. They got time to think of a lie to tell her.
Exactly.
They
That's
got
another
time to
red
think of a lie
flag
to
too.
tell
He
her.
has
They
all
got
this
time to
time.
think of the
Here's
lie
the
to
thing.
support
And
the
he's not
lie.
building nothing.
They got time to find the lie, the lifestyle of the lie.
Right.
to
Like,
attend it
you gotta
to.
understand something.
They got time.
There's
Like,
a
you ain't
lot of
doing
people
nothing,
out
you
there
got time, but
are hustling
that should be
in
that's the truth too. Though I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna keep talking.
No, you good. Because you and I saying the same thing. You gotta understand something.
But I
There's a
wanna
lot
say
of
that-
people.
I was just gonna say, I just want to say this real quick though. Like, you gotta look at it like this. You need to be like, who the one that ain't got the time? Who, when I link up with them, it's all love, it's everything cool. And yeah, you know, maybe I would like more time, but
it's like basic.
once they get to the place where they really got the time, then it's cool. Because normally they're gonna be old as hell with the time that they got the time in the right type of money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. And the
like it
thing
took them
I
a
was
second
gonna
to
add
get
is
there.
That's talking about scammers and drug dealers. Like, come on.
You know what I mean?
no,
Well,
we're
I just
not.
want a
No,
brother
we're
that's
not.
really
Because
I mean,
here's
those
the
are
thing.
scammers, right?
No, Malik, there is some people who, for real, relationship is a hustle, period. You see what I'm saying? They're serial daters. The hustle itself is the relationship. So they bounce from person to person. You have people that are serial cheaters. You have people that literally are serial relationship getter. Like, they just always got to be in a relationship. And so the relationship itself is a hustle. So what they do is, and some men are so addicted to the chase that they got to chase all these different women, as opposed to saying, I can just continue to chase the same one, right? Whether it be because they get tired, they get bored, whatever their reasoning is, they move on. You see what I mean? And they have all of these different reasons. They have all of these different things going on. So you definitely have that. But there was one thing I wanted to ask you, Malik. You had said earlier, you know, as it relates to men assisting women to kind of upgrade their life. You said something to the effect that of, you know, men don't look for women to upgrade their lives. Do you believe that a woman can upgrade a man's life?
Like, financially, we don't have that expectation that a woman.
No,
Okay.
we're not talking about financially though.
Okay.
In any capacity.
Oh, yes. I feel like a woman can upgrade your life, but we're not. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, we don't look for, okay, I found a woman, she's going to increase my financial standing. That's not something we look at. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on that. She's going to help me be healthier. She's going to make my life easier. Okay, so I look at a woman upgrading my life from this standpoint. She's going to make my life easier. She's going to help me do the little things. I potentially can even make more money because she's around, but I'm not dependent upon her to provide that money, right? But I'm making more money because she's making my life easier. I'm able to produce and provide better because she's around. That's the way I look
The
at it.
reason why I pose that question is because I think that a lot
Her salary is just an added bonus.
but I think that the reason why I bring that up is because I think that there's a lot of men that think like that, and I don't think it's I think that they're missing something. I don't want to say it's wrong. I think that they're missing something in that. And the reason why I say that is because
we're not missing anything.
Let me no, you are. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because you know, men that are married typically can go further in their career. That is just that is a
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
but hold on, it's not necessarily because it's not necessarily simply because she's a great helpmate, right? Not just because she's helping you take care of these little odds and ends, taking care of home, offering you peace, supporting you mentally and emotionally, but also too, some women can get men bigger deals based on how she looks, the things she says, her own mind, things like that. Sometimes it could be she helped fund something for that man to help him grow his business. Like there's a lot of things that,
but that's a rare situation.
It actually is not rare.
When a man gets married to a woman,
right. But what I'm telling you is that actually happens.
13%.
It happens a lot.
Almost doubles. So
no, Malik. The way women participate financially in relationships happens way more than what I think you give credence to. Right.
I'm just telling you about the income. Because you said deals and all this stuff.
So,
and I'm like, this is 10 to 13% increase on average as opposed to women. Her income doubles, especially for a Black woman.
It might double based on the activity of their relationship. But what I'm talking about is what she provides to him can help him grow financially. Right, you're talking about as a man and a woman give to one another, right?
But
and how that helps and how that helps benefit him. And what I'm saying is there are many women in many relationships that provide financially in such ways that help grow that man. And a lot of times, and it happens a lot. A lot of men don't say it because they don't want people out there knowing that their woman helped them financially to grow their business or grow whatever it was that they had going on. But help happens a lot. It happens a whole lot.
But men are making more money than women.
Doesn't mean that she can't help.
I mean, it doesn't. You're right, but I mean, they're making more money on average.
I'm gonna disagree because I think that all men that especially men that have women that work in their business and things like that. I think all men who really feel like, you know what I'm saying, their wives are worth their weight in gold always say, you know what I'm saying, that's my bet, that's my, like you said, my neck, or that, I can't get all of this stuff done, without her, or, you know what I'm saying, she helps, you know what I mean, make these things go. So I think men do give reference to it. I do agree with you that I think in some situations that having, a wife or having a woman around does make the atmosphere a little bit better. And like you said, can help with closing deals if you're out and about, you negotiate, you have your wife around and stuff like that. That could help, I guess, if y'all going out and y'all doing big business like that. I definitely agree. It could work other ways depending on the type of men where y'all at other locations. You know what I'm saying? And whether that's a nice fine bar or something like that, or other areas where you got people do business. It could be on a golf course, you know what I'm saying? It could be wherever.
But hey, can I chime in for a second here? It's not many, like most men are, especially Black men specifically, are single with no kids and in the middle class, most Black men. So they're able to do that without Black women.
Yeah, but I think
tell us that a Black woman is elevating us so much, and I don't think as many Black women out here elevating, because when we look at the statistics of when a woman gets married to a man, and we're speaking specifically for Black people because we're a Black focused podcast right now, a woman's income, like it goes from where she's at, like 38, a little under 40,000, a Black woman, all the way to 78,000. While a Black man's only increases 10 to 13%. So her financial impact is smaller compared to a man's financial impact on our life. So I can't say that's when it's a 10% increase, it's not as significant as like a 50% increase.
Go ahead, E. You got
See
it.
what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, no, I hear you on that, on the financial standpoint right here.
Yeah, because Sam
hold
was
on,
kind of going at
I
that
got
point,
two
and that's
things
what I
on
was
it.
addressing. Go ahead.
Two things on it. To the point that Sam was making real quick. The reason why I feel like some of that works is if you're out and about, you're doing your thing, you know what I'm saying, you trying to get to, like you said, the upper management stuff, like your general positioning stuff like that, no, it's not gonna really matter. But when you're talking about, you know, C-level, you know what I'm saying, C-suite type of situations, it looks better to be a married businessman who has a family than to be like a lone CEO who just out here doing his thing, living however. That in that instance, I can understand that. Now, I granted where you're coming from, because that's not everybody. Everybody's not going for executive vice president of, you know, a Fortune 500.
That person's already built a level. They're trying to go to an even higher level. Like they've already built a high level of success, and they're trying to take it to the next level. Right.
And that's what I think, like I said, having a nice wife, having a partner who can come to these.
And that's an image thing more so than anything.
It's beyond that.
Still,
I think that's
still part of the thing. Like, if
I mean, like there was help.
You need to have that type
hold
of.
Hold on, Malik. Let Everett finish what he's saying. Let Everett finish what he was saying. Hold on, Malik. Let Everett finish what he was saying. No.
Let me just clarify my point, because I feel like people are mixed up here. I think that a man, right, he focuses more so on that financial aspect, and he's not thinking about what a woman's going to bring, right? That's the main point I was trying to make. Like, a woman's like, okay, I'm more focused on, okay, is that man providing? Has he built something? Y'all even said it yourselves. Oh, I don't want somebody who's a provider in training. I want somebody who's already built something, right? Who already has something tangible to show. So a man doesn't look for a woman to have all this tangible stuff to show. That's not what we look for. And that's the main point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to say women don't help financially. In a marriage, a woman helps a lot financially.
But understand something though. The reason why women don't look, the reason why women look for something that's mostly built, and it's a more experienced woman, is because number one, she's already been through all that. She's already been through and had those experiences with those people that are potential. She's focused on this potential. She's not really paying attention to all those red flags. She just sees potential, and she's hoping that she can help build that potential into something sustainable. So when she wants to see something sustainable and manageable, that goes to the security that he is able to offer her. And so if she's not able to see him to offer her the security that she needs in order to feel protected and safe, whether it be financially, emotionally, mentally, or whatever, that's when she's going to jump ship. That's number one. Number two, as it relates to being a helpmate, a woman is called a helpmate for a reason. It's not because the man can just do everything on his own, right? If we need each other, then we need to talk about the things that we need. And it's not necessarily just going to help run my errands and do my secretarial work and clean the house, right? It's going to be a whole lot more than that. And it can be financial, because not for nothing, I could provide somebody, I could help somebody who wants to get in real estate, they're $300 short of their down payment. I got you. Here's $300. Now, guess what? My $300 that I gave was not a substantial amount when you're talking about the number, but it was substantial because he was able to buy that house that he could flip and get $200,000 after he flipped it. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what I mean about the financial contribution of a woman. And so although it may seem as though she's not contributing a whole lot, what the amount that she may contribute may not be a lot, but the value is what holds the weight. And that right there, I think, is what goes missed when statements like that are made, right? Because he may not be looking for, her to be doing to give him the full $5,000 down payment, $15,000 down payment for a house or a building or whatever have you, but she just contributed the last that he needs in order to make that happen by that deadline. And in doing that little, go ahead, Dana.
To finish.
I think that just go ahead, that puts them in a place to set it all off. And go ahead, because I was going to transition. Go ahead.
Malik, you were talking about like women being a helpmate, and that, like, I've been wanting to say this, but I think men need women, right? Women need men. And it's very intangible what a woman offers to a man. It's not just the household stuff. That's the tangible stuff you can see done. The intangible is all in here. It's all in his release. My husband is working his business. He's providing for our family. When he comes home and he's alone, like who's going to help him release that tension and be that listening ear? Who's going to, he needs a woman, right? Even if he isn't married, like I know he was mentioning that, I remember who, if it was you or Malik, like he could have done so much in his career as a single man. Do they want to see that? No, but there was probably women in his life in the back end that helped support him throughout the way, whether they were in a serious relationship or not, married or not. But most successful men probably do have a woman in their back end, right? But everything that a woman offers, most of it is intangible, and he cannot do that without her, right? So I think that's what a lot of people miss in relationships. Like I have no desire to financially support a man at all. If we're partnered up together and I have to help, I will think about it very much. But I have no desire to do that. I also understand, there's good days and bad days. A man, what's that saying? It's like a successful man will, let me gather my thoughts. Successful man, if something bad happens to him and he's run down and he's down to his last, he won't be there long, right? But he would have shown that. So a man needs a woman to help elevate his lifestyle, be that emotional support, be that spiritual release. Like, you can't do that on your own. It's great. It's so sexy when a man has that on his own. He's
I think the word elevate is not really elevate, but like make his life easier. That's what we're looking for.
That's the value, right? That's the undisclosed, unspoken value of a woman. It's not, do women desire to be housewives? Sure. Do they desire to not be housewives and hire somebody else to do that? Yes. I think there's like two different types of women, right? There's the woman who wants to be supported and dependent fully on her man. Like, he funds the lifestyle and he's okay with that because the intangible value that she has on his life, he knows that he's like, I got it good here. I love this woman. Like, what she does, no other woman has done for me. And what that is intangible. Nobody discusses it. It's like super, specific to relationship. He may not even tell his friends that that's what he needs, but she knows, or it's just some women just really just want to work and be independent in that relationship, and that works because she wants to have something for herself. Like me, I would love to have something for myself. I'm working on getting more for myself, but does that mean that I don't want my husband to provide for the family and be able to sit back sometimes and not have to work on what I got going on as hard? Because the resources that he provides for me help make my life easier. Yeah, that would be ideal, right? Because like it's a partnership, but the value a woman has is very intangible. It's not just help. Like, she's not just a helpmate. That's just part of what she can do. The intangible is what men don't even know that they need, that a woman can provide, and only a woman can speak to that, right?
I think we know. Men know
let me get in here real quick. Everybody got a chance to rock.
I was just saying, I think we know that part. Go ahead, E.
Yeah, well, that was my last thing. Like as I said, I had two things, and we kind of touched on that first one. But the second thing that I was going to come back to, and Malik, you clarified it when you came back to it, is that, like, again, I think for a man, a lot of times too, even if she's not necessarily in the situation where she's directly assisting and, the advancement of his career, like the intangible stuff that Dana was just referencing, like this, the peace of mind that he gets when he comes home, the fact that he knows that he got somebody that maybe can look after his children and, you know, make sure that they're doing the things that they need to be doing, or if they have kids type of situation, or if not, the fact that she knows that she's looking after them and she's stewarding things to make sure that, you know, either A, you know, the house and everything is in order. Like we keep saying the house, but not if it's this, that, but like their lives are in order. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, it's scheduling things are right, you know, making sure that, you know, they have time and stuff set away for them to do what they need to do whenever they need to take breaks or things of that nature. Like when he gets home, he can have, you know, the things that he needs to come back and relax and, you know, regroup and get ready to go back into the world to do everything that he needs to do while he's going to be gone. And so, you know, keeping them entertained and things that he may need for that as well. Like, so those type of things are like those intangibles that I feel like adds to the peace of the mind to the man that may not necessarily reflect on a direct rise in the, which honestly, I feel like it does, because if you're getting a good, you know what I'm saying, motivation from your muse, you should be able to go off into the world and do more, produce more, be more, you know what I'm saying? Because you have that right type of energy that's refueling you and getting you, you know, motivated to continue to go do what you need to do. So I just want to say that I think some of the things that we could talk about, though, that to help, you know, offset some of the things that we're dealing with, again, with this whole, you know, view of independence and dependency that I think that we have, because it seems like there's such a fear of that, is one, I think, you know, for me, it would be looking at us going into, you know, finding ways in which we can work on self-awareness, you know what I'm saying? So we can look at ourselves and understand. I think we talked about this a couple times. One, who we are at the beginning of this relationship. You know, I think a lot of it would be people not overselling, you know what I mean? Stop feeling like you got to do the most when you first start to meet people. Try to be yourself as much as you can. Like, not as much as you can, like be yourself all the time, so that people, good, bad, and different, get the real you to make their own assessment off of that. If they, you know what I mean, choose not to rock with it at that time or whatever, then that's their business. But nonetheless, you can feel like, you know what, I didn't sell you a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were able to see what it was from the beginning. And I think once you kind of find some people that rock with you, then the next thing will be for y'all to be able to, you know, communicate effectively with that, as far as what you guys need, things that you guys are looking for, how those things might change. And if they do change, what you know, what that looks like for both of y'all, and if y'all will be comfortable with that. So those are some of the things, one of the things that I want to touch on. I know you guys all have some other stuff that y'all wanted to add into.
Yeah, well, to kind of tie into what you said, aside from just being able to recognize that changes do happen, being honest with yourself, like you said, about whether or not you're willing to make those changes based on what that other person has going on, or based on whatever the ebb and flow of that relationship is. Right? Because everything is not going to be a straight line. Things are going to move, they're going to curve, they're going to go up, down, around, and the whole 9 yards. That's just like the road to success. Anything that requires you to be successful is not going to be straight. It's not going to be a straight line. You have to make turns, you know, learn lessons, bump your head, stub your toe, whole 9 yards. And so I think the way to combat that is definitely having clear communication and being open. There has to be a certain level of openness, right? Because it can't, as long as anything is going to be my way or the highway, you're going to have a real hard time. It's going to take 10 times longer to get there, because, you know, the way God works, God always says, they always say, if you want to make God laugh, have a plan. And so when God has something predestined for your life, then, you know, you got to understand, and for your relationship even, you got to recognize that those things are going to take turns and curves and stuff like that. So you just got to have a certain level of openness. And that includes in being honest in your communication and offering up full disclosure of things, you know, things that are going to allow for things to grow. And you have to be patient. You know, I think patience is in listening. Like, I know listening is a form of communication, but you know, we could sit here and talk all day and I could tell somebody that something's bothering me, but if they don't have any desire to make any changes and they're not going to listen, then that's going to become a problem later on. So if, I say, hey, something is bothering me, I would much rather somebody say, well, I have no intentions on changing it, than having me go in circles. Because then I can make my decision right then and there. What am I going to do about that? Am I going to accept the fact that that person is not willing to be amenable to what it is I have going on? Or am I gonna accept it, or am I gonna move on? You know what I mean? Because life is short and we're only blessed with today. So those are some of the solutions that I thought about.
So to clarify, solutions for dream selling?
Just in general,
I think,
just
okay.
For better, I guess, better relationships in terms of,
and as it relates to being independent versus dependent.
Yeah, I think the solution is for, like Sam said, to be able to communicate what your needs are, and like what Everett says, to be self-aware, right? Self-awareness, starting off with knowing, like, where are we wrong in our thinking? Because in order for a woman to feel safe with her man, she has to understand why she's so hyper independent, right? She has to allow space for her to be dependent in a relationship. And he has to heal whatever is in his heart or in his mind and his way of thinking about being more soft and open and realizing what is that intangible value that a woman has on my life. And I want that, he has to want it. He has to know, like, I need this. I haven't done it. I've done it on my own. I've done so much. Not that I don't need her, right? Because, yeah, you've accomplished so much, but how else can your life be fulfilled with the presence of a woman? It's intangible, right? So we need to be self-aware and knowing, how have I been living my life to where I'm seeing with a certain lens, and how can I shift it to realize, like, this other person has value. We were born and put on this earth with a man and a woman. There's a reason for that. Like, why am I trying to be so hyper independent as a woman? It's because there are men who are not stepping up to the plate for the woman's values. But that's also the other side, is taking accountability as a woman and realizing, like, I need to allow a man to step into my life and show me how he wants to value me in his life, So it takes two to tango. And I think that's the solution, is realizing how can I change my perspective? How can I be more vulnerable? Because a lot, like both of us, men and women, try to think that we're so right in our ways that, no, this is what I want. Okay, there's one thing about having morals and having goals, but there's another thing with being able to be open to receiving, criticism and critique on your life. And maybe there's a better way. So yeah, self-awareness, communicating your needs, but also realizing, like, how can I change my perspective to not be so hyper independent as a woman? And how can a man really truly value the intangible value that a woman has on his life? So
well, Dana, I'm gonna kind of touch on a little bit of what you touched on, but I'm gonna phrase it in the terms of accountability, right? And you talked about a man, right? I think I think men understand the value, of the intangible things that women present. But I think what men need to do is hold themselves accountable. Like, have you earned that, right? You got to be a producer, a provider. Are you producing and providing to the level of where you actually earn that type of peace, that type of intangibility, that type of care that she provides, that femininity, all that stuff that you were discussing earlier, Dana. So men have to hold themselves accountable. Are you really working hard enough? Are you building anything? What are you doing with your life for a woman to feel safe with the provisions that you're providing from that aspect? Because I know there's the emotional aspect too, but from the standpoint of the provisions that we talked about, because that was a heavy part of the podcast today, was the financial aspect. Are you working hard enough? Are you only working 40 hours? Maybe you need to get another job. Maybe you need to upgrade your job. Maybe you need to upgrade your skills, right? Maybe you need to upgrade your network, stuff like that. in order to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, and also have your woman or your spouse feel more comfortable in what you're doing, right? And have more faith in you, and she's willing to submit easier, right? Because for the lack of better terms, game recognizes game. So if you're a producer and provider and you well respected in the community and people know what you're doing, women are going to look to that, right? They're going to understand that and respect that, and men are going to respect it too. So I think women need to hold themselves accountable. Men need to hold themselves accountable when it comes to that stuff, and stop complaining and saying, "Oh, these women want too much." I'm like, yeah, a lot of women do have unrealistic expectations, but you definitely need to start shooting upward. So you can have the power, right? You can say, hey, I'm one of those men that most of these women want, and you can dictate stuff, right? So until that point, until you get to that level, you need to keep building. And as far as the women goes, I think women do need to hold themselves accountable and be able to take criticism and do that self-awareness and reflect on what they're doing wrong so they can do better and to get better results. So I think both genders need to handle it like that. So
I do want to add one other thing in here real fast, which was just lastly for my little things on this topic. Also, I think is we both need to, both sides of the genders need to show more patience and empathy. In particular, the reason why I say that is I think a lot of times a lot of women may kind of find themselves cutting some situations a little bit short, that may need a little bit more time in order for you to really be able to see those results. And what I mean by it is like, in today's world, we do live in an ability where everybody has a lot of options. You can go here, there, you know what I'm saying? You can kind of go swipe left, right, whatever. You can easily replace someone, but I think sometimes it's actually being able to trust like the process of you taking the time to choose the right person based on the right type of situations. You look to see, are they at certain places in their life? Have they built those type of foundation building blocks that you wanted to see? If they have those things and they have, the ability to do the things that that you ultimately think that you want to see, I believe that you should be able to have some patience to be able to see, are they willing to work towards, something that y'all can work on? And I think to Malik's point, as a man, if you feel like you've gotten yourself into a place in life where you can be able to at least have some foundation of saying, hey, this is what I would like. I would like this. Now, whether, you do it every day or, what I'm saying, we share the responsibility of getting that done, or we find a way to get that done where neither one of us had to do the labor to make it happen. These are some things that I just would like to have within the relationship. And if you handling your business and you doing your part and you have something to contribute to that, I'm sure that woman would be able to say, okay, cool, you know what, we could work with that, or this is what I can do, or can you do it as, y'all figure it out. So I think, being able to, for both sexes to be able to have, a little more patience, a little more empathy with individuals, especially if they fall short on some things, to just see, are they making a conscientious effort to do better? And if they are we seeing improvements in that? You know what I'm saying? To give it a little bit more time, because sometimes guys just might need a little bit of time before it actually clicks, or before it actually becomes something that they're aware of, because it might not have been something that was even on their radar prior to you mentioning it. So, give them a little more grace. That's all I had to say on it.
And I have one last point. So I think there's one thing I'm adding to Malik's point. There's one thing to know what you need, but then there's another point to hold space for it. Like everybody struggles with that. So men may know what they need, but are they holding space for it? No, because you may say, I don't want to do a relationship. You're not holding space for that, but you need it, or maybe you don't even know you need it, which is why you're closed off to it, because you're not open. So, same thing with women, right? To avoid being so hyper independent, you need the support of a man in a different way that you can provide for yourself, but you have to be open to it. So
I agree. I think both genders have walls up. I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
But what I'm getting at is like, I've seen, me personally, so much more growth and more true connections when both people have been open, or at least for me, I can speak for myself. When I've been open to let somebody in, it feels so much better to be in love with somebody than to be closed off and have your walls up and be guarded. Like, for what? You're wasting time, you know? If your intuition is telling you no about this person, then of course not. But yeah, I think just to make it simple to add, because you mentioned that earlier, like men know what they want, but maybe they don't. And even if they do, we have to be both parties opening ourselves up to it so we can actually have like that marriage that we can both be dependent on each other because we're open to how we can add value to one another's lives. So that's all I want.
I agree with that analysis there. But I would like us to kind of get into the book of the month real quick, which is Powernomics here. It's a very great book. I've read it. I need to read it again. It's a decent read, over 200 plus pages, but it's a very good read. Also, you can find this book on powernomics.com. Dr. Claude Anderson is the author of the book. He's a very brilliant man, a pioneer in the Black community. And you can get a library pack for 4 of his books for $99. So make sure y'all check that out at powernomics.com.
Absolutely. And I'm going to just get into our motivational minute really quickly before we close out. So there's this quote. It says it's by Stat Analytica. I don't know, but I like the quote, so I picked it. And it says, don't be over dependent on someone because it always restricts you to be successful. And the reason why I picked that quote is it's not a matter of being dependent, it's a matter of being over dependent. And when somebody's overly dependent, that's when it can create friction, it can create turmoil, and it can create roadblocks in your growth and in your ability to be successful, not just in your relationship, but in your future, in your career, and whatever it is that you're choosing to do. Being too dependent on somebody can be too much, but it's nothing wrong with having a healthy balance. And so I think that it's important that we recognize balance, openness, communication. Those are all the keys to success. No matter if you're talking about a relationship with a significant other, if you're talking about that in business, if you're talking about that in any other type of friendship, partnership, or whatever. Those are some of the things that you need in order to grow. And so we really, really, really want to thank Dana for coming out and participating in our podcast with us today. And we want to thank you guys for taking, yes, and you're always welcome back. Dana always taps in with us on our What's Up Wednesdays, so you guys can too. And so look, you guys can come on like Dana did if you ever want to. So if you guys have any subjects that you want to hear us discuss, please feel free to go ahead and let us know. You can DM us. You know, all of our social medias are going to be shown at the end of the show in our rolling credits. And if you guys want to just make sure you like, share, subscribe, I'm asking nicely today as opposed to telling y'all what to do like I normally do. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for tapping in with us. That's going to do it for us on this fine, good, nice day. Everybody get out there, enjoy the rest of y'all day. Peace.
Bye.